Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you today about something that's so important when it comes to love, heartache, and growth after a breakup. Now, let me be clear, breakups, they're tough. But when we go through them, there's a way to handle them that will make the other person feel that breakup 10 times harder than they ever thought they would. When we go through a breakup, whether it's our first or not, we all know it can feel like the world is crashing down. The emotions are real, the pain is raw, and there's this intense feeling of loss that can overwhelm us. But here's the thing. Amidst all that pain, there's something incredibly powerful that you can hold on to, and that's the power of self-love. Self-love isn't just a buzzword or something people say to make you feel better when you're hurting. It's a real, tangible force that can change the trajectory of your life, especially after a breakup. What makes it so powerful is that it starts within you. It's the belief that you are worthy, valuable, and deserving of love and respect, regardless of your relationship status or past experiences. In the wake of a breakup, we often find ourselves questioning our worth. We wonder, was I good enough? Why wasn't I enough for them? What did I do wrong? These questions swirl around in our minds, and they can start to chip away at our confidence. But the truth is, the end of a relationship doesn't define you. It's not a reflection of your worth. What you have to understand is that relationships don't always work out for countless reasons, many of which have nothing to do with who you are as a person. When you understand the power of self-love, you begin to realize that no matter what happens, you are still whole. You don't need anyone to complete you or to make you feel validated. The love that you give to yourself is the foundation for all other kinds of love. And if you don't nurture it, it's hard for anyone else to truly love you in a meaningful way. A breakup is often a time when we're faced with a mirror. We look at ourselves, and for the first time, we realize just how much we have been relying on someone else for validation. The relationship might have been where we derived our sense of worth and identity, but when that's gone, we are left with a choice. We can either crumble under the weight of the loss, or we can build ourselves back up with the strength of self-love. Self-love means acknowledging your worth even when someone else doesn't see it. It's about not letting the end of a relationship define your value. It's about choosing to respect yourself enough to walk away from a situation that no longer serves you, even if it's painful. Because what you need to understand is that you are not your relationship. You are not your past. You are an individual, whole and complete, and you have the ability to thrive on your own. When you embrace self-love after a breakup, it's not about moving on immediately or pretending like nothing happened. It's about healing at your own pace, but doing so from a place of understanding your worth. You don't need to chase after someone who doesn't appreciate you. You don't need to beg for someone's love or attention. What you need to do is take the time to reconnect with yourself. When you put yourself first, you send a clear message to the universe and to yourself that your happiness doesn't depend on anyone else. Another crucial aspect of self-love during this time is the ability to forgive yourself. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-blame after a breakup. We think that if we had done something differently, maybe it would have worked out. But that's not the reality. Every relationship teaches us something. And sometimes the lesson is simply that not every connection is meant to last forever. And that's okay. Self-love means forgiving yourself for any mistakes you think you made and realizing that every experience is a stepping stone toward your personal growth. The journey of moving on begins with understanding that your happiness is yours to control. No one can take that from you unless you allow them to. A breakup can feel like a blow to your ego, your self-esteem, and your confidence. But it's during this time that you must dig deep and remind yourself of everything you've accomplished, everything you've overcome, and everything you've yet to achieve. When you start practicing self-love, you start shifting your mindset. You stop waiting for someone else to make you feel better. You stop seeking validation from external sources. You realize that the love you've been craving has been inside you all along. It's a love that has no conditions, no limitations, and no end. It's the love that you deserve no matter what. Self-love is also about setting boundaries and learning what you will and will not tolerate in your life. After a breakup, many of us have this urge to reconnect, to reach out, or to try and salvage what's left. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to let go completely. It's about respecting your own needs, your own emotions, and your own healing process. When you do this, you create space in your life for new opportunities, new experiences, and new people who will respect and appreciate you for who you truly are. The beauty of self-love is that it doesn't require anyone else's approval. It's something you give to yourself. And once you do, you will find that your inner strength is far greater than you ever imagined. And it's this strength that will help you move forward, not just surviving, but thriving after a breakup. So as you heal and grow, remember, the real power of moving on lies in your ability to love yourself first. When you can do that, you're not just moving on from a relationship, you're stepping into a new chapter of your life where you get to create the happiness you deserve. And when you do this, you'll find that not only do you recover, but you emerge stronger, wiser, and more at peace with yourself than ever before. When a relationship ends, there's often a ripple effect, not just in your own life, but in the life of the person you've shared that bond with. A breakup can be messy, complicated, and emotionally charged, but it's essential to realize that your actions during this period have a significant impact not only on your own healing, but on how the other person processes the loss as well. We often think of a breakup as something that only affects the one who's left behind, but in reality, both parties are affected by the breakup in different ways. It's easy to fall into the mindset of thinking about what you're going through, what you've lost, and how you're feeling. After all, this is your pain, your grief, and your heartbreak. But as you navigate through these emotions, you must also be aware of how your actions will affect the other person. All right? It's not about pleasing them or trying to control their emotions. It's about recognizing that your behavior, your words, and your decisions have consequences. And it's important to handle things in a way that aligns with your values, your integrity, and your self-respect. One of the most powerful things you can do during a breakup is to maintain composure and maturity. When emotions run high, it's easy to lash out, to say things that you might regret, or to try and manipulate the situation to get a certain reaction. But these actions, no matter how justified they might feel in the heat of the moment, can often cause more harm than good. Anger, resentment, and bitterness only fuel negative energy, making it harder for both you and your ex-partner to heal. Your words and actions can add layers of pain and confusion that extend the healing process for both of you. On the other hand, when you choose to be respectful, calm, and understanding, even when it's incredibly difficult, you allow space for the other person to process the breakup in their own way. They might not acknowledge it immediately, but deep down, they will feel the weight of your maturity. They'll notice that you are handling the situation with grace and dignity, and in doing so, you show them that you are emotionally capable of handling life's challenges. It's a subtle message, but a powerful one. You are not consumed by bitterness, anger, or resentment. Instead, you're demonstrating that you've risen above the situation, and that's a reflection of the strength of your character. This approach doesn't just benefit your ex-partner, it's also incredibly beneficial for you. When you rise above petty emotional responses and refuse to engage in drama or unnecessary conflict, you protect your own emotional well-being. You allow yourself to heal without the added stress of negative exchanges. You preserve your peace of mind, and you set the tone for your own emotional growth and future relationships. By recognizing the impact of your actions, you create an environment that fosters healing, understanding, and maturity for both of you. In doing so, you open the door to your own emotional strength, which is crucial in overcoming the pain of the breakup. When we experience a breakup, we often find ourselves submerged in a whirlwind of emotions. Sadness, anger, guilt, confusion, and sometimes even relief. All of these feelings are valid, but what truly matters is how we choose to respond to them. This is where emotional strength comes into play. Emotional strength is the ability to process your emotions in a healthy, constructive way. And it is one of the most powerful tools you have during this difficult time. A breakup, no matter how painful, is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to understand your needs and desires, and to explore what it truly means to be emotionally strong. But emotional strength isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's about acknowledging your pain, sitting with it, and then choosing to move forward in a way that serves your highest good. Emotional strength starts with self-awareness. The more in tune you are with your feelings, the more effectively you can navigate through them. Instead of denying your sadness or trying to push away your emotions, you allow yourself to feel them fully. You recognize that pain is a natural part of life and that it's okay to grieve. However, emotional strength also involves setting limits on how long you allow yourself to dwell in that sadness. It's about accepting that while it's okay to grieve, it's not okay to let grief consume you indefinitely. You have the power to rise above it, to take control of your emotional state, and to start taking the necessary steps toward healing. One of the key components of emotional strength is the ability to forgive, not just others, but also yourself. During a breakup, it's easy to fall into a cycle of self-blame. You might think that if you had done things differently, maybe the relationship would have worked out. You might replay the events over and over in your mind, thinking about what you could have changed or said differently. But emotional strength comes from the understanding that relationships are complex, and sometimes they simply don't work out. It's not a reflection of your worth, and it's not your fault. Learning to forgive yourself is a crucial part of emotional healing. It's about letting go of the guilt and the regret and making peace with the past so that you can move forward with strength and resilience. Emotional strength also involves developing the ability to be resilient in the face of adversity. A breakup is one of life's greatest challenges, and yet it also presents an opportunity to build resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from hardship, to keep going despite the pain, and to learn from your experiences. The emotional strength you develop during a breakup will serve you well in other areas of your life. It will make you more capable of handling future challenges with grace and confidence, because you will have learned the importance of emotional resilience, the ability to persevere and emerge stronger from difficult situations. When you are emotionally strong, you stop relying on others for validation. You stop seeking external sources of happiness, and instead, you start finding peace within yourself. You begin to recognize that happiness comes from within and that it's not dependent on anyone else. This emotional independence is one of the most empowering gifts you can give yourself, because it means that you no longer need someone else to complete you. You are whole on your own. And that realization is the first step toward true emotional healing. Ultimately, emotional strength is about embracing growth, learning from your emotions, and using those lessons to become a stronger, more resilient person. It's about honoring your feelings while also acknowledging that you are capable of moving forward. When you approach a breakup with emotional strength, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're building a foundation for a healthier, more fulfilling future, and you're learning how to navigate life's challenges with grace and courage. Emotional strength is one of the most critical elements in navigating the storm of a breakup. It doesn't mean suppressing your feelings, pretending everything is fine when it's not, or rushing through the process of healing. True emotional strength lies in the ability to feel your emotions fully, to face your pain head on, and to use that emotional experience as a catalyst for growth. The strength comes not from avoiding the hurt, but from how you choose to rise above it. One of the most empowering aspects of emotional strength is the way it transforms your mindset. When you're emotionally strong, you understand that pain is a part of the human experience. It's inevitable and often necessary for growth. Now, since by accepting the reality of the situation and the emotions that accompany it, you begin to shift your focus from being a victim of your circumstances to being an active participant in your healing process. You recognize that while you can't control the end of the relationship, you do have control over how you respond to the pain. Another vital aspect of emotional strength is self-compassion. Many people, after a breakup, find themselves trapped in a cycle of self-criticism. They ask themselves questions like, what did I do wrong? Could I have done more? And am I not good enough? These questions can spiral into negative self-talk, which only prolongs the emotional distress. Emotional strength involves recognizing that mistakes are a natural part of life and that no one is perfect. It's important to give yourself permission to be imperfect and to understand that mistakes don't diminish your worth. You are allowed to grieve, to mourn, and to learn from the experience. When you are emotionally strong, you also embrace the idea that healing is a process, not an event. You might have days when you feel like you're making progress and other days when the pain feels overwhelming. That's okay. Emotional strength is about honoring the journey. even when it feels uneven. It's about knowing that healing isn't linear, it takes time, and that's perfectly normal. The most important part of the healing process is persistence. Emotional strength isn't about avoiding discomfort. It's about enduring it with the confidence that it will pass and that you will emerge stronger on the other side. One of the most powerful tools you can use during and after a breakup is the concept of playing it cool. Now, let's be clear. Playing it cool doesn't mean being cold or distant. It doesn't mean pretending you don't care when you do. What playing it cool really means is maintaining a sense of composure and emotional control when the temptation to react emotionally is high. When we're hurt, the natural instinct is often to act impulsively, to lash out, to try to get back at the other person for the pain they've caused us. But the truth is, acting impulsively doesn't heal anything. It only perpetuates the hurt. When you play it cool, you're essentially refusing to give in to that knee-jerk reaction. Instead of feeding the negativity, you take a step back, compose yourself, and respond in a way that reflects emotional maturity. The beauty of playing it cool is that it allows you to maintain control over the situation. When you don't engage in petty arguments or drama, you are setting boundaries for yourself. You're saying, I will not allow this situation to dictate my emotions or behavior. I am bigger than this moment. By remaining calm, composed, and collected, you send a powerful message, not just to the other person, but you yourself. You show yourself that you have the strength to rise above the emotional chaos and handle the situation with grace and dignity. Playing it cool also works to your advantage because it helps you maintain a sense of mystery and power. When you act composed, when you refuse to chase or beg for attention, it forces the other person to confront the reality of the breakup. They see that you're not desperate for their validation, and they begin to realize that they may have underestimated your strength. It's often this sense of self-assuredness that makes them question their own decisions and feel the loss more profoundly. Additionally, playing it cool gives you the space you need to heal. By not engaging in constant emotional exchanges or overanalyzing the breakup, you create room for emotional recovery. You protect your peace of mind, which is crucial in the healing process. This approach allows you to focus on yourself, on your growth, and on your next steps instead of getting tangled up in the emotional drama of the situation. In times of emotional upheaval, it's easy to forget the importance of maintaining dignity and self-respect. When someone hurts us, especially in a breakup, there's a temptation to lash out, to make the other person feel as bad as we do. But while this might feel good in the short term, it only degrades your own sense of self-worth and prolongs the pain. Maintaining dignity in the face of a breakup means holding yourself to a higher standard. It means refusing to lower yourself to petty revenge or vindictive behavior. When you act with dignity, you protect your sense of self-respect. You're saying, I don't need to tear someone down to make myself feel better. I can walk away with my head held high and my integrity intact. This not only makes you feel better about yourself, but it also forces the other person to recognize your strength. They see that you aren't willing to engage in childish games or try to drag them through the mud. You are choosing to rise above it, and in doing so, you make a far greater impact than if you had allowed your emotions to dictate your behavior. Self-respect during a breakup also involves setting clear boundaries. After a relationship ends, it's important to decide what kind of interaction you want, if any, with your ex. Do you want to stay friends? Or is it better to cut ties completely for your own emotional well-being? Respecting your own needs and honoring them, no matter how difficult it may be, is a sign of emotional maturity and self-love. It's a way of saying, I deserve to be treated with kindness and respect, and I won't settle for anything less. Your dignity is an unshakable part of your identity. No one has the right to take that away from you, not even someone you loved. When you maintain your dignity and self-respect, you set a powerful example for how others should treat you in the future. You teach others how to treat you, not through words, but through actions. You demonstrate that you are not willing to compromise your values for anyone or anything. Ultimately, maintaining your dignity and self-respect isn't about being perfect or always acting in the ideal way. It's about staying true to who you are, despite the hurt and pain that might come with the end of a relationship. It's about protecting your sense of self-worth and carrying yourself with honor, even in the most challenging moments. Because when you do this, you not only heal from the breakup, you come out stronger and more confident, ready for whatever life brings your way. During the emotionally charged period of a breakup, maintaining dignity and self-respect can seem like one of the hardest things to do. The temptation to lash out, to try and hurt the other person the way you've been hurt, can feel overwhelming. Yet, responding in this way, as satisfying as it may seem in the moment, ultimately diminishes your own sense of self-worth and keeps you tangled in a negative emotional cycle. The real power lies in how you hold yourself in the face of adversity, how you handle the situation with integrity and grace. Maintaining dignity means refusing to stoop to petty behaviors. It's easy to fall into the trap of sending hurtful messages or engaging in toxic patterns of communication. After all, you might feel betrayed or angry, and it's only natural to want to express those emotions. But doing so doesn't make you feel better. It only prolongs your own suffering. When you react impulsively or vindictively, you end up lowering your own standards and eroding your sense of self-respect. Choosing dignity means acknowledging the hurt and letting it pass without allowing it to dictate your actions. It's recognizing that you are above the emotional chaos of the breakup and maintaining a sense of composure even when the urge to lash out is strong. In doing so, you preserve your emotional energy and you protect your integrity. There is incredible strength in not responding to negativity with more negativity. By not engaging in harmful exchanges, you also preserve your peace of mind, which is one of the most precious things you can maintain during a challenging time. In many ways, maintaining dignity is about setting boundaries, not just with the person you've separated from, but with yourself. It's about not allowing yourself to engage in self-destructive behavior that could harm your mental or emotional well-being. You are worthy of respect and you deserve to feel at peace. This means not allowing the end of a relationship to define your self-worth. When you act with dignity, you show yourself that you value your peace, your happiness, and your well-being more than holding on to resentment or bitterness. It's a conscious choice to protect your energy and maintain your self-respect in the face of pain. The road to healing after a breakup is rarely a quick one. It's a journey that requires patience, patience with yourself, with the process, and with the natural rhythms of healing. Too often we want to rush through the pain to fix everything quickly so we can get back to feeling good again. But the truth is, healing doesn't work that way. It takes time. And understanding the role of patience in the process can significantly ease the struggle. Understanding the importance of timing and moving on is key to emotional growth. You can't force yourself to be okay when you're not. Healing happens in its own time, and no amount of rushing can change that. Trying to move on too quickly or pretending that you're fine when you're not can delay the process. Sometimes the best thing you can do is simply to take things one day at a time, giving yourself permission to heal at your own pace. Patience is also about knowing when to seek support. It's about being gentle with yourself and recognizing when you need to lean on friends, family, or even a professional to help you navigate the emotional complexities of the breakup. You don't have to do this alone, and you don't need to rush through the difficult emotions. The more you allow yourself the time to process, the more complete and lasting your healing will be. Patience teaches you to honor your emotional needs and respect the process. It's about letting go of the pressure to move on according to a specific timeline and instead accepting that healing is a unique journey for everyone. So instead of trying to force things to happen quickly, focus on being present in each moment and trust that with time you will feel better and stronger. Letting go is one of the most powerful and liberating things you can do after a breakup, though it's often one of the hardest. When a relationship ends, there's often a lingering attachment to the past, the memories, the shared experiences, the hopes for the future that no longer exist. Letting go of all of that can feel like an emotional weight, but in reality, it's the very act of releasing those attachments that opens the door to healing and growth. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or erasing the relationship. It doesn't mean denying the significance of what you shared. Rather, it means accepting that the relationship has run its course and that it's time to move forward. It's recognizing that while the past is a part of you, it doesn't need to define your future. Letting go means freeing yourself from the emotional hold that the relationship has on you so that you can create space for new experiences, new opportunities, and new relationships. The act of letting go is not about severing your connection with the other person in an abrupt or angry way. It's about emotionally detaching so that you can begin the process of healing. It's about giving yourself permission to release the need for closure or answers, recognizing that some things in life are simply beyond your control. When you let go, you stop holding on to the idea of what could have been and start embracing the possibilities of what can still be. Letting go also creates space for self-discovery. After a breakup, many people feel like they've lost a part of themselves. But in reality, the end of a relationship can be an opportunity to rediscover who you are outside of that connection. It's a chance to reconnect with yourself, to nurture your passions, and to explore new aspects of your life that may have been neglected during the relationship. In that sense, letting go is not just about moving on from the person, but also about moving on to something greater for yourself. When you let go, you invite new energy into your life. New opportunities arise, whether they are related to your career, personal growth, or future relationships. Letting go creates space for something better to come into your life. It's the first step toward healing and moving forward, knowing that the end of one chapter is simply the beginning of another. You deserve to embrace the future with an open heart, free from the emotional baggage of the past. By letting go, you unlock the potential for a brighter, more fulfilling future, one where you are the one in control of your happiness and destiny. The end of a relationship can be emotionally devastating, but maintaining dignity and self-respect during this time is essential for preserving your mental and emotional well-being. It's easy to fall into the trap of responding to hurt with hurt, of lashing out at the person who has caused you pain. It can feel satisfying in the short term to make the other person feel what you're feeling, to get revenge, or to try to win the breakup in some way. But this approach ultimately does more harm to you than to them. In fact, it's often the person who maintains their dignity who walks away from the breakup stronger, more resilient, and with their sense of self intact. Dignity in the face of adversity is not about repressing your emotions or pretending you don't care. It's about choosing how you respond to your emotions in a way that reflects your values. You can feel hurt, angry, and betrayed, but you can choose to respond in a way that doesn't compromise your integrity. Maintaining your dignity means refusing to engage in petty behavior or revenge-driven actions. It means not allowing your pain to define who you are or how you treat others. By choosing not to retaliate or seek validation from others, you hold on to your self-respect. When you maintain your dignity, you send a powerful message to both yourself and others. You are showing that your worth is not defined by how the other person treats you or how the relationship ended. You are demonstrating that you have emotional control and maturity. This can be incredibly empowering because in a moment where it feels like you have no control, choosing to preserve your dignity is an act of strength. You're telling the world that you will not let external circumstances dictate your behavior or your emotional state. In addition to protecting your own sense of self-worth, maintaining dignity after a breakup also plays a crucial role in helping you heal. If you engage in toxic behaviors like arguing, confronting your ex repeatedly, or trying to get back at them, it only prolongs your emotional turmoil. You remain emotionally entangled in the situation, making it harder to move forward. However, when you act with grace and respect, you create the space you need to heal. You're able to let go of the anger and resentment, which are often the biggest roadblocks to healing, and focus on your own emotional recovery. Moreover, maintaining your dignity and self-respect sets the foundation for your future relationships. The way you handle the breakup will affect your emotional landscape for years to come. If you let bitterness and anger consume you, it will color your future connections and your own selfishness. However, if you show self-respect even in the face of pain, you'll be setting an example for how you expect to be treated moving forward. It becomes easier to attract healthier relationships because you've shown that you value yourself, and others will see that in you. Patience is often one of the most difficult virtues to practice when you're healing from a breakup. We live in a world where instant gratification is the norm, and when something goes wrong, we often want to fix it immediately. But emotional healing doesn't work on a timeline. It takes time. It requires patience with yourself, your feelings, and the process itself. Many people want to rush through the grief to get to the part where they're over the person and moving on. However, rushing through the emotions only delays healing. Patience allows you to process each stage of grief and ultimately emerge stronger and more whole. Being patient with yourself during a breakup means allowing yourself to feel the full spectrum of emotions: sadness, anger, fear, and even relief without judgment. It's normal to have bad days and good days, and it's important to allow yourself the space to experience both. The temptation to get over it quickly can often lead to emotional suppression, where you bury your feelings rather than addressing them. This can result in unresolved emotions that will resurface later, hindering your ability to truly heal. Patience also means understanding that healing is not a linear process. There will be days when you feel like you're making progress, and other days when the pain seems to return with full force. This is a natural part of the healing journey. It's important to accept that you can't control the timing of your emotions. Healing takes the time it needs. Some days you might feel overwhelmed with grief or even experience a setback, but with patience, you will gradually move toward acceptance and peace. Patience isn't just about enduring the pain. It's also about recognizing that your emotional growth is taking place. When you give yourself the time to process and reflect, you learn more about yourself and what you want from future relationships. You discover your own strengths and weaknesses, and you start to understand the lessons that come from the breakup. This self-reflection is essential for personal growth, and patience allows you to take the time to develop a deeper understanding of yourself. Furthermore, patience allows you to see the bigger picture. It helps you to trust that eventually you will move on and be ready for new opportunities. Sometimes we're so focused on the immediate pain of the breakup that we forget that there's a world of possibility ahead of us. When you're patient, you allow the process of healing to unfold naturally. You understand that there is life after the breakup, and that eventually you will come out of the experience with new wisdom and strength. Patience and timing play an equally significant role in how we recover from a breakup. Sometimes the desire to move on quickly after a breakup comes from a place of fear, the fear of being alone, of facing the reality of the situation, or of moving on from the person we thought we would spend our lives with. But patience teaches us that it's okay to let go of these fears and allow time to do its work. When you give yourself permission to take your time, you allow yourself the grace to heal at your own pace. You stop comparing your healing process to others, understanding that everyone's journey is different. This is particularly important because there's no set timeline for how long it takes to get over a breakup. You may hear people say, it will get better in time, but it can be hard to accept that while you're in the thick of it. Patience, however, allows you to acknowledge that this pain is temporary, even when it feels overwhelming. Another key aspect of patience is that it helps you detach emotionally from the person and the past. By giving yourself time, you naturally begin to create emotional space. The memories, the emotional attachment, and the patterns of thinking that once held you in the past slowly fade, allowing you to focus on the present. In this space, you are free to explore new possibilities, whether it's healing yourself, developing new hobbies, or meeting new people. Patience helps you to stop clinging to the past and to start embracing what lies ahead. Finally, patience allows you to wait for the right time to move forward. Sometimes we want to rush into a new relationship or a new phase of life to avoid feeling vulnerable or sad. But jumping into something too soon can often lead to repeating the same patterns that caused the breakup in the first place. Patience lets you focus on personal growth and allows you to be sure that you're emotionally ready for what comes next. It gives you the space to clear away emotional clutter and to approach future opportunities from a place of wholeness and clarity. By practicing patience and trusting in the timing of your emotional healing, you allow yourself to emerge from the breakup stronger and more prepared for the future. Patience teaches us that the pain won't last forever. And in time, we will be able to look back and see how much we've grown. It's an essential part of the healing process, one that ultimately leads to a healthier, happier future. Letting go can be one of the hardest things to do after a breakup, but it is also one of the most liberating. When a relationship ends, it's common to feel like you're losing a part of yourself. The connection, the shared experiences, and the dreams you had together can feel like they've disappeared in an instant. Letting go means accepting that these things are now part of the past and that the future is something entirely different. While this can be painful, it is also incredibly empowering. Letting go creates the emotional and mental space necessary for healing, growth, and eventually new beginnings. The first step in letting go is accepting that the relationship has ended. Often people hold on to the idea of what the relationship was or what it could have been. This attachment to the past prevents them from moving forward because they're continually looking back at what was lost instead of embracing what lies ahead. Letting go means facing the reality that the relationship is over, and that is often the hardest part. And, it's about acknowledging the hurt and the disappointment and the loss, but also recognizing that this chapter is now closed. Letting go also involves releasing the emotional attachment you've developed over time. We tend to invest a lot of ourselves into our relationships, our time, energy, and emotions. When a relationship ends, it can feel like a piece of you has been ripped away. However, by holding on to these emotional attachments, we prevent ourselves from healing. Every moment you spend holding on to a past that no longer exists is a moment taken away from the future that could be. When you let go, you free yourself from the emotional weight that keeps you tethered to something that no longer serves you. This is the first step toward reclaiming your sense of self and moving forward with clarity and confidence. Another key aspect of letting go is releasing any lingering resentment or anger. It's natural to feel hurt or betrayed when someone you love no longer shares the same feelings. But holding on to resentment only keeps you stuck in the past. Anger and bitterness will cloud your judgment and keep you from seeing the opportunities that are waiting for you. When you choose to let go of these negative emotions, you make room for peace. Letting go of resentment allows you to forgive, not necessarily for the other person, but for yourself. It's an act of self-liberation. When you release that anger, you break free from its grip on your life and you open yourself up to new, healthy experiences. Letting go also means making space for new opportunities. After a breakup, it's easy to feel like you've lost everything, but in reality, the end of a relationship is a chance to reinvent yourself. It's an opportunity to rediscover who you are outside of the relationship. Maybe you've neglected hobbies or passions because you were focused on the relationship, or perhaps you've lost sight of your own needs and desires. By letting go, you give yourself permission to explore new possibilities and to grow as an individual. You have the chance to create a new narrative for yourself, one that is not defined by the past, but by the person you are becoming. When you let go, you create space for new relationships to enter your life. If you're still emotionally attached to your ex, it's hard to move forward and open your heart to someone new. Letting go of your past allows you to make room for new connections, whether it's a new friendship, a romantic relationship, or even new opportunities in other areas of your life. The act of letting go is a signal to the universe that you're ready for something new. It opens the door to fresh experiences and relationships that may be more aligned with who you are now. It's important to realize that not all relationships are meant to last forever, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to let go of what we thought we wanted in order to make room for what is truly meant for us. The process of letting go is also about trusting the future. It requires faith that something better lies ahead, even if you can't see it right now. Letting go can feel like stepping into the unknown, and that can be intimidating. However, trust that by releasing the past, you make space for growth and transformation. You don't have to have all the answers, but by allowing yourself to move forward, you show courage in the face of uncertainty. You embrace the idea that your future is not defined by this one relationship, but by the countless possibilities that exist. The act of letting go also nurtures your personal growth. When you stop holding on to the past, you begin to reflect on the lessons learned from the relationship. You begin to understand what worked, what didn't, and what you need in future relationships. Letting go creates the space for self-reflection and self-discovery. You start to understand your own needs and desires more clearly, and you gain insight into the patterns and behaviors that you want to leave behind. This self-awareness is crucial for personal development and for attracting healthier relationships in the future. The more you learn from your experiences and let go of what no longer serves you, the more equipped you are to create a fulfilling and balanced life moving forward. In addition to emotional healing, letting go also impacts your mindset. Holding on to the past keeps you trapped in a negative loop, preventing you from seeing the potential for growth and transformation. Letting go shifts your perspective, allowing you to see challenges as opportunities for personal growth rather than obstacles. It opens your eyes to the beauty of new experiences, new people, and new beginnings. By letting go, you release the burden of past pain and create the mental space needed to embrace the present and future with an open heart. Finally, letting go is a powerful way to take back control of your life. After a breakup, it can feel as though everything is out of your hands. But letting go puts you back in the driver's seat. It empowers you to take charge of your own emotional well-being. You get to decide what's next for you, and you get to create the life you want. Letting go is not about giving up. It's about reclaiming your power and choosing to move forward on your terms. Letting go is never easy, but it's one of the most important things you can do for yourself after a breakup. It's a process of healing, growth, and renewal. When you let go, you make space for new beginnings, new relationships, and a new chapter of your life. The pain may not disappear overnight, but with time, patience, and the courage to let go, you will emerge stronger and more resilient, ready to embrace the future with an open heart and a clear mind.